Thank you all so much for stopping by today. So today's video, I wanted to go into a little bit more detail because we had some great comments. I got some great emails and we had some great DMs on all about seed starting. So I am out here today. I'm going to finish up the rest of my summer herbs and vegetable planting, but then I also am going to go ahead and kickstart my fall planting as well. And I want to go ahead and get started with that fall planting, y'all, because last year I loved it and I'm so not complaining, but I had so many collard greens and I was harvesting them, I was washing them, I was freezing them, but it was like all at one time. So this year, I'm serious. We are going to do better about succession planting, and I hope you join me along that journey so that you all can hold me accountable. So if I go ahead and start some plants today for fall, in 2 or 3 weeks, I need to be back on telling you all what else am I about to start to plant. So that way you won't get everything ready to harvest at once and you can kind of enjoy and eat it fresh as you go. So if you are new, definitely welcome, and we hope that you subscribe to our channel where we discuss home, gardening, cooking, recipes, and then we also do some product reviews. And to all of my subscribers, thank you all so much for taking the time out of your day to watch our video. So let me go ahead. I'm going to turn the camera around and we're just going to talk. Y'all know I always say I hope I don't keep you too long, and I'm serious. I just want to go through this really quickly, hoping that it can at least give you an idea of what goes on in my head, and also help you go ahead and get some seeds started. And also I encourage you to experiment with all types of ways to start your seeds. No way is right or wrong, it's just what you prefer. And I'll tell you my preferences for each of the ways that I start my seed. So let me turn the camera around and let's go ahead, let's get started. Okay, so we once again have a lot of stuff going on here, but we are getting ready to try and transition. And let me just really quickly tell you why it's so hard for me to transition from summer to fall gardening. It's because the plants really struggle for us here in summer, and really the summer vegetables that are supposed to grow in the summer, like they do grow, but they really perform their best when the temperatures start to cool, because although we're getting temps in like 98, 99 with the humidity, it feels like it's in the hundreds. So a lot of our plants do struggle. Like, for example, I think I put on Instagram where I had tomatoes that were still fruiting in December, because we did have a mild winter, but it was just like the scorching sun. After some plants reach above that 90-degree temperature, they just kind of struggle. And so it's hard for me to pull out some of those summer vegetables when I know that their time is like when it gets just a little bit cooler. But seriously, this year I have been like taking strolls through the things that are not performing as well. Then we'll just have to pull them and we'll just have to start our fall crops, which is why I'm going to do succession planting. So it won't hurt my heart as much to like pull everything at one time. I can kind of do it in phases, and so I won't be as heartbroken. So right here, these are the last of our summer herbs and vegetables. And I think I made a video about this. This is the red Chinese cabbage. This is the callaloo right here. And then I have a little bit more holy basil that we are going to plant. Okay, so like I said before, I use all type of methods. My main two are soil blocking and also going ahead and starting them in cell trays. Now things like radish, I will direct sow. I have tried to soil block it, but you really have to stay on it and put it in the ground, because it's such a quick crop that it will start bulbing up like in the soil block. So we just direct sow those. So first, let me go over soil blocking and why I use this method. Soil blocking is perfect if you want to plant a lot of one thing, like this tray right here, like each section, I think this is 24, it's like 60 plants in these soil blocks. So if you want to plant a lot of something and the seeds are small enough, then soil blocking is so good, and it does not take up a lot of space. Like this fits on this one tray. This is 60 plants on this one tray. And then it's also a great way to see the germination too. Now I won't say it's 60, I do see a couple of spaces, but I would probably say it's about 50 plants on here. But I do like to use the soil blocking method for really tiny seeds like snapdragons. The basil seeds were really small. We have also soil blocked a lot of different lettuces and leafy greens. Like I said, if you want to plant a lot and go ahead and get them going and mass planting, then soil blocking is the way. Now, what I can say about soil blocking is I normally soil block, like for example, when I don't really want to pot up, like when the plant is ready to go out after it gets big enough, like these are about to get ready to go in the raised beds. They're big enough. All I have to do is put my all-purpose organic fertilizer where I'm going to plant it at, and I just take each of these little blocks like this, and I just put them in the hole and just let them go. So that's why I like to use the soil block. And it also saves me from potting up. Now, if you want to soil block, just say for instance, some of your fall vegetables and they're not ready to go outside yet, you're gonna have to pot them up. So that's gonna be an extra step. You'll have more, but you need to make sure you have the right amount of pots that you'll use to pot them up. And let me show you what I normally pot my soil blocks up in. So let me go find one, because I know that I washed them on our video where I showed you how to sanitize your planting containers, and I'll link that below too. But let me find one of the little pots that I pot them up in. Okay, so these are the pots that I pot them up in, and I think they're about 2 inches, little 2-inch pots. But let me tell you something about soil blocking. You can't use like a potting soil or seed starting mix, because it will not hold this form. You have to use a specific soil blocking recipe. There's so many on the website, or there's so many on the web like Google. I had to try about 3 until I found what I really like. And once I found the one I really like, I make up a container of soil blocking mix, so that when I'm ready for it, then all I have to do is, I have another container where I wet it. Let me show you real quick. Okay, so I'll put my soil blocking mix in here and wet it up. And I have 2. This is the, I want to say 1/2 inch soil blocker, and this makes 20. That's why I said it was 60 on this tray. It makes 20, but then now you also can use the soil block medium again and pot it up. And I think I have like I want to say they're 2 inches as well. You can pot them up like that and put them on trays, but you'll have to have larger trays. But what I just do is go ahead, get a little potting soil and just pot them up in here. The bigger soil blocker that I have is when I want to plant bigger seeds like sunflowers or things that I know will be in that block until I get ready to plant it out. My go-to is really the 1/2 inch, and then I'll just pot them up in these 2 inches, and then I'll put them in the tray, the 10-20 tray that has no holes, if they're still inside, so that I can water them from the bottom. So for our fall planting, we're going to be using these cell trays right here. They're 12, and then they have the humidity dome that go in, because they're going to be inside. Now I started these in this is the same cell tray, but they were outside and we got so much humidity here, I did not need to put a humidity dome on here. But when I start my cells, when I start my plants in the cell trays right here, I'm either using a 12 count cell tray, And this is going to be good for us, like I say, for the fall, because we're going to keep on succession planting. But like this summer with my zinnias and a lot of other plants, I either use this 128 cell tray. But I will tell you this, you have to make sure you don't let this get root bound. Once they get tall enough where it's ready to come out, you need to go ahead and get them out here, and you need to plant them. So I normally use cell trays like the 128s like this is when I know in about 2 or 3 weeks I'm putting them in the ground. I'm not potting them up. I am putting them straight in the ground. And so that's when I'll use that. Now last fall when we planted a lot of the greens, we used the 72 tray flats, and they will stay in here just a little bit longer, but you really need to time everything on when you plant so that you can go ahead and instead of potting up, can y'all tell I really don't like potting up, but I will do it. Like I have to really make myself get up and say, it's today you're gonna pot up. So this right here, if you plan well and you start them in these 72 flats, and again, these come with a humidity dome tray, and then I also get the flats with the no holes. Let me show you really quick. Okay, so here are the cell tray or the trays that these go in, that they do not have any holes, so that way you can bottom water them. And so that's what we use, especially inside the house. Now once they get big enough and I start to fertilize it with like a real weakened strength of fish fertilizer, I do bring them outside, because the smell is not that great, and you don't want to like smell up your room like that, or whatever room you're starting them in. But so that's the method on how I determine how I'm going to start my seeds. So again, if you know you time it right, you start them in the 128, and you're going to put them straight from this tray in the ground, this is great mass planting. Same for this, but they can stay a little bit longer. You just need to really plan out, look at your calendar, plan out everything, and that way you don't have to pot up. With the soil blocks, if I have really tiny seeds or it's not quite time, I will pot up. Don't like it, but I will do it. And then these are just what I'm going to use for succession planting. Now really quick, let's go over what I use to plant everything in. Now I told you about the soil block mix, so you need to look it up and find what works for you, because it just depends on how well they hold together. Like I said, I've tried 3 and I finally found the one that I really like. And I always try and start all of my seeds in the cell trays. This is like a seed starting mix, and I always wet it before I put it in here, just so the seeds don't go everywhere when you try to water it on top. Go ahead and wet it real good. And this is basically a seed starting mix, a soilless seed starting mix with a little bit of seed starting fertilizer that is mixed in, very low strength. I think it's like 0.02 or something, just enough to get those seeds started. And then once they get established, that's when I go ahead and start giving them the fish fertilizer. And then once I pot them up, if it's not time to pot out yet, I'll just use a potting mix and then just let them stay until it is ready to go outside. Okay, y'all, I almost forgot, because I don't want to leave anything out. So again, I told you, whatever you're using, go ahead and wet that medium. But instead of covering my seeds with like more of the soil starting mix or more of the seed blocking mix, this is what I do. I sprinkle some vermiculite on top. This is just a dollar store container, just so I can control how much comes out. But I just sprinkle vermiculite on top because it'll hold in the moisture, and you know how sometimes you see that crust on top, so it won't do that, but it will allow the seed to push up through real nice and easy. So I just put a real nice dusting over whatever I'm starting seeds with. And so that is my method of doing it, so that that top layer doesn't like dry out and look like it's crushed over. I just use some vermiculite, and then just make sure you monitor and keep everything moist until it starts popping up. You don't want your seeds to dry out at all, so you always want to check. Now, what I will tell you is when you soil block, you may have to water it twice a day, but you do have to water at least once a day. Whether I'm starting on the inside or the outside, I have to water at least once a day. You do not want these blocks to dry out. And then this one, you can go a little bit longer, a few more days, because the area is bigger, so you don't have to water as much as you do the soil blocks. But when you start seeds, you got to make sure that you keep them moist so that they can go ahead and germinate. And always make sure you look at your package, because some seeds require light to germinate, so you don't even need to cover it. Like if it requires light to germinate, I do not even put anything, no vermiculite, no nothing on the top of it, because it needs that light to germinate. So that was just a real quick tip, because I don't want to leave out anything. I want whatever you start seeds with to be a success. So I hope this answered a lot of your questions that you had about starting seeds. So again, comment below, let me know if you are able to go ahead and fall plant, and if you are, what do you plan on planting? Now, in just a second, after I go ahead and get these in the raised beds, I am going to plant. Let me just show you. And I'm planting these once again in these 12 cell trays. So we're gonna come back maybe 3 weeks from now and start something else. But this is Florida broadleaf mustards, which is about 45 to 60 days. But then I also am going to start some green wave mustards, which is 21 days as a baby. I just want to take some of these and use it in my salad, and then you can harvest them 45 days full size. We grew these last year and they were really good. And then I am also going to grow some Swiss chard. I'm going to go ahead and get that started. Swiss chard here. So we will go ahead and start with that, and then hopefully 2 to 3 weeks we'll come back and start some more of our fall gardening. As always, thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you share this video with your family and your friends. And if you want to see more videos like this, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. If you're not a subscriber, we would absolutely love to have you as a subscriber. So make sure you tap the bell so that you can receive notification each and every time we upload a new video. Again, thank you all so much for watching, and until the next video, bye-bye.